When I first reported on the Warhammer issues of feminizing the Space Marines and others, I got some pushback from the simps out there that just don't want to see it. They just don't want to see these properties going there. But if you look at the trajectory over the last several years, we learned, of course, that Games Workshop is going to push this direction. They're all in on the DEI thing, just like many of these other companies. They're completely paused. Somebody in my comments yesterday said that BlackRock actually owns a stake in Games Workshop, which doesn't surprise me whatsoever. They seem to own everything that you love, and they are pushing this on the companies. They're throwing in these investments that they think, we can get rid of our fans and it'll be no problem. Now, this is causing a problem, and it looks like they're starting to get a bunch of pushback now that this story is actually getting out in a lot of different sources. And what they're doing is they're doing the same tactic that many of these companies do, which is to ban their own players. Now, I've seen this happening on Twitter quite a bit over the last few days. Anybody who criticizes what's going on with the new Warhammer direction gets the ban hammer. And you'd think they'd learn their lesson. This already happened earlier with BattleTech, with Catalyst Games. They started banning everybody from their community. And Catalyst Games, does not have the player base of Warhammer. I mean, they really couldn't. I don't know how they're going to survive this. But if Warhammer's going that same direction, I don't know how they're going to survive this either. It still is a niche hobby regardless, even if it is a much bigger brand name than BattleTech is, and we'll get into this news in just a moment. My name's John Delarose. If you're new to the channel, hey everybody, I cover pop culture news, especially stuff in gaming and comics and things like that. I write my own science fiction novels and comics. You can get those links in the description below. I hope you'll check them out. If you like Warhammer, I really suggest getting my Justified book on Amazon. Justified really is everything that Warhammer promised to be, but a bit of a different spin because I'm a creative. So check those out. Thank you guys. This is what's happening right now. After this whole deal, they decided to just gaslight their fans. And it started with, why did you make female custodes? Asked a Twitter user. For anyone not initiated to Warhammer, they're a force of individual warriors, each in a bastion of his own right and a sentinel of unmatched capability and singular purpose created to counter any possible threat. They're godlike warriors, and they've always been canonically male, same as the Space Marines, who are now subservient to them. And here it is. Since the first 10,000 were created, there have always been female custodians, always. They always like to do this. It's always been that way. You were just wrong, fan. We just never said this before, but it's always been that way. And so the fans get pissed at this because they just have been gaslit. It has never been that way. That has never happened in the history of Warhammer, and it's been proven many, many times already. But instead of actually listening to their fans who are getting pissed, they are just going and they are deleting people. They are just blocking dozens and dozens of accounts who are criticizing them at this point. And our article writer here, Thibaut, who wrote our beautiful article on Fandom Pulse here, got blocked by them also. So if you just mention anything, there it is. It's Warhammer is not for everyone. It's for a few vocal, loud minority of misogynists, creeps, and perverts. Thank you for making clear that Games Workshop in 5 to 10 years, when your company and its reputation tanks like Disney did, remember this, you will not be missed. And that's the interesting part about like wargaming and things like that. That's a little different than a lot of other content. While they're trying to like revamp their rules and of course get subscription memberships and things like that to keep their company going at this point, you can still just buy all the old figures from the past, use all the old codexes. You don't really need the new stuff. And so I think that Catalyst Games with BattleTech and Warhammer here, with Games Workshop, they are making a big, big mistake because a lot of these fans who play these games basically for nostalgia at this point because they just grew up with this, can just go back to those old versions very easily because they have all these physical properties. It's not like some sort of TV show or movie or something like that. It's a very, very different animal right here. So it's a big, stupid move on their point. And I'm seeing a lot of that. I'm seeing a lot of comments out there of people saying, you know what, we're just going to use our old versions. Warhammer used to be great. We don't need to play the new version. We're not interested in this. And people are starting to cancel their subscriptions to what is going on with the new Games Workshop material. Grum's had something to say about it. Games Workshop lies about custodes and retcons their lore, gender flipping them in a new 10th edition codex for woke points. I'll prove it in this thread. And there it is. He just called them out on it directly. And this is what happens as somebody who is here with Games Workshop. He then says this. Wow. I worked with Games Workshop on a specific part of its history, started the mail order trolls, and worked my way up in the studio during my time at the company. During the White Dwarf years, I had one mission. I wanted to share the joy of Warhammer hobby. There it is. In short, take the mystery out of what is dry brushing. Yes, the painting. I got into painting miniatures for a little bit. I couldn't do it. I just don't have the patience for it. Do you guys have the patience for that? Let me know if you actually paint your miniatures down below. I did some good ones, and I thought I was okay at it. I'm not the best artistic person in general, but man, I mean, that's so many hours just to paint one figure. That's something that deterred me out of Warhammer, I gotta tell you. Anyway, the hobby was supposed to be fun, a uniting force between gamers to create friendships, social functions, something to be enjoyed and shared. You were never supposed to build silos of lore because the very idea of history was so convoluted and fragmented, there was no such thing as fact. Now, this is BS right here, as from this former employee. Everything was supposed to contradict. That was the purpose. That's not true. And here he goes. This is quite the gaslighting right here from this former employee. There was no lore. There was no continuity. What are you talking about? Like that's like the reason that Warhammer succeeded beyond other war games of its style. I mean, there's a bunch of them out there, by the way. It's all because of that lore. People loved the lore. People loved the history. That's nonsense. And here's where it is with the agenda. The agenda. I hope he gets his golf claps here. That being said, I'm overjoyed seeing the hobby for once gave me a means to live, being so inclusive, seeing female LGBTQ gamers and seeing them represented at the highest level of Games Workshop toy soldiers is pure joy. I love it. Well, fans don't love it, and they don't love the fact that you are lying about the history of Warhammer, that the Warhammer account is lying about what's happening with its own lore, and that people are being blocked in the name of inclusivity. They're excluding their own fan base more often than not. It's really tragic to watch, but you know what? You go woke, you go broke. And I hope Games Workshop fails. Leave a comment down below with what you think about this. Hit that like and subscribe button. Again, make sure to check out my Justified novel. It's on Amazon. And I would love for you to read my books and tell me what you think about those. I'm never going to contradict my own lore because I write it all myself. That's how it goes. All right, we'll be back soon.